I congratulate Makerere University and the alumni and the people of Uganda on this occasion of the 100 years since Makerere started as a teaching institution. There is an education review commission headed by the Honorable Museveni, and I met them the other day. And the aim of that commission, but we have been here for 4.5 million years. The human race started here in Africa, and we have been here for 4.5 million years. How can the educational system just concentrate on 100 years? There's something there. Because we were here long, long ago. It is true, we have made some achievements, which I will point out, but you need a holistic understanding of society. Maybe you could benefit from Archbishop Kazimba when he reminds you of the book of Genesis, where God gave us the original mandate. You remember God worked very hard. He did something on Monday. Then on Tuesday, he did something else. Then on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Then on Saturday, he created a human being. And when he created the human being, he said, "You man." He was originally a man, then later on a man produced a woman. And he said, "You people, multiply and fill the earth." That one the Africans are doing very well. But also establish dominion over nature. Because remember, God created man in his own image, different from all these other things he was creating. And then he said, because you are a small God, you are a little bit like me, establish dominion over nature. And that's where Professor Kagonyara, I want to thank him for his reinforcement when he was speaking here. In my battle on behalf of science education, because what did that establishing dominion over nature means? What did it? Yeah, what did it mean? It meant this man, who was a small God, because he was a little bit like God, would understand the laws of nature and use them for his own benefit, I think. And what are the laws of nature? Gravity, pressure, heat. This is nature. If you understand the laws of nature and you use them to solve problems, then that is science. So therefore, in my presentation to the Amanya Mushega Commission, I will point out that the story of man is a long one. 4.5 million years since the Homo sapiens sapien, as he's called, the wise man, with the three characteristics: a superior brain, walking on two legs, bipedal, and having a hand which can hold and do things. This is the difference between man and all the other creatures. So therefore, this Makerere, this 1922, is a phenomenon at a certain historical point as a consequence of what had gone on in our society before. The question is, how were the African societies organized before colonialism? How were they organized? They should be studied thoroughly by the social science. I am one of the people who refused to come to Makerere. I refused. I said I would not go to Makerere. When we were making choices, all my three choices were put to the University of Dar es Salaam. Choice number 1, Dar es Salaam. Choice number 2, Dar es Salaam. Choice number 3, Dar es Salaam. Why? Because I wanted to be near Nyerere. And why Nyerere? Because Nyerere was already being talked about as somebody who wanted integration of East Africa and who was fighting for the liberation of Southern Africa at that time. So therefore, when we are auditing Makerere in these 100 years and these other groups, the auditing should start with, did they understand, especially the social. When I come to the auditing, I will make a difference between science and the social sciences. These ones of Kasiate. The African social science should study these African societies before the onset of colonialism. Why is it that when the foreigners came, they conquered us? Why? Kasiate needs to answer that. Apart from speaking on the microphone and so on, he needs to answer that. So when I read what Dr. Mwambutia and these others write here, I don't see quite that. What was it? Why was it? Because the Europeans came very slowly. The Europeans came here because of the problems they had in Europe. In 1453, the Ottoman Turks captured Constantinople. I'm glad Dr. Kazimbi is here, but also don't dismiss my credentials as a religious person. Those of you who say they are Christians would have read the book of the Acts of the Apostles. In that book, there's a man called St. Paul there, who was on the opposition, but he was converted to this side. And now he went through a place called Eshamina. In the Bible, it's called Asia Minor. But if you go on the map now, you can't see Asia Minor. What was being called Asia Minor in the Bible is now Turkey. And those letters which St. Paul was writing to the Ephesians, where are the Ephesians? They are in Turkey. Ephesus is in Turkey. The Galatians, where is Galatia? Turkey. Some of the towns are in Greece, like Corinth, like Thessalonica, they are in Greece. Now, that area, which was originally where St. Paul was operating, was captured by the Ottoman Turks in 1453. When the Ottoman Turks captured that place, they blocked the Europeans from going to the east. You remember there was that route which had been established by a man called Marco Polo. In your old history, you would have heard of that. And this was the Silk Road, was bringing silk, was bringing spices, but it was now blocked. The Chinese president these days is talking of the Silk Road. He wants to bring back that trade route. So when the Europeans were blocked on the land route, that's when they started looking for a route around by sea to the east. And the ones who led that effort were the Portuguese. By 1472, they were near Sierra Leone. 1482, a Portuguese man called Diego Cama got to where Angola is now. 1487, another Portuguese man called Bartholomew Diaz got to where Cape of Good Hope is now. And 1498, Vasco da Gama goes around South Africa and lands at Natal. That's why Natal is called Natal, because he arrived there on Christmas Day, 1498. And then he proceeded to Mombasa, and then he attacked Mombasa when he was going to India. Now, this is 1498. The Europeans were coming to the East African coast. And a rumor was coming. The problem, what I don't, because I belong to a clan which has been here all these times. And we know all those histories. But it is never taught in the school. They're just running around talking about small things. Man was a prophet. And he prophesied that you people, this land of yours will be taken by foreigners. Meaning Africa, meaning these parts which he knew. Karagwe, Ankole, Buganda, Rwanda, Bujinja, there are some places in Tanzania, will be taken by foreigners. But our traditional chiefs were not bothered. Just full of themselves, they put on leopard skins. When he puts on a leopard skin, he thinks he's a leopard. So you can imagine, Vasco da Gama passes by 1498. The first white man to come to Uganda here, you remember, was Huntington Speke, 1862. This is almost 400 years when the Europeans are coming, passing. Now, these chiefs here within Africa don't organize themselves to say, we hear there are some people who are coming, let's organize ourselves. No, they are just here full of themselves. And when they come, they capture all these fellows like grasshoppers. Some of them try to fight like cavalry. They can't. It was already too late. So, who has done that audit of that society? Now, meanwhile, this imbalance between Europe and Africa was not always there, because you have heard that God gave us the mandate, establish dominion over nature. Establishing dominion over nature means really understanding science. That's what it means. Be able to deal with the drought, be able to deal with the diseases, be able to deal with the floods. That's what establishing dominion over nature means in the Bible. And for us, in our NRM, we always teach our people that the primer, I heard somebody talking of socio-economic change. But what is the primer? The primer is the initiator of social change. The primer of social change, socio-economic change, is development of science and technology. When man invented fire, fire was invented 1.5 million years ago. You can imagine, man was here 4.5 million years ago, but fire was invented 3 million years after. Before that, there was no fire. And when fire was invented, it caused big changes in society. People could, before fire, people were sleeping in trees, because trees were the only safe place where you could be, so that the animals don't eat you. But with the invention of fire, the human beings could move into the caves. They could light the caves and move there, and warm the caves and stay there. And the caves were more comfortable than the trees. So there was social change, social progress from tree to cave. That's progress, because the caves were a bit more protected. So you come, the invention of fire, the Africans did it. Invention of agriculture, to capture crops from the bush and bring them home here so that you don't have to go looking for them in the bush. Domestication of animals, of cows. There also my ancestors played a role. They brought them from the bush, they put them home. The invention of iron, all this, the Africans did it on their own. I don't know how it was spreading, but they did it. Now, the problem was that in the last 500 years, the Africans lagged behind. When the Europeans invented gunpowder, we didn't know about it. For us, we continued with the spears, with the arrows, and so on. Now, as you hear, the Europeans came up to Mombasa, but they couldn't enter. Couldn't come inside Africa. Why? Africa was defending us. Africa, the land, was defending us. How? By the mosquito, by the distance. But the Europeans, in the 400 years after Vasco da Gama passed here, discovered quinine. Quinine, they discovered quinine. So they could be able to deal with malaria. And by the time they got here, they had discovered the steam engine. The steam engine. That's how they were able to build the railway from the coast to here. So they had solved the problem of disease, solved the problem of distance by train, and solved the problem of superior firepower by inventing gunpowder when our half-naked fellows were running around with spears only. So therefore, I congratulate Makerere, especially the science side. And when we came, of course, for us, NRM, we had studied all this. By the time we came, our views were very clear. What I'm telling you is what I was talking about more than 40 years ago when we were in the bush. So we knew that the primer of social change is science and technology. So when we came here, first of all, like the friend from Rwanda is talking of the faculty of food science. I ordered them to start that faculty because it was not there. I said, how can you have a university without it? I told the one who was in charge, was it Chiria or who, to start it, the faculty of food science, and also the faculty of quantitative economics. I insisted on that. And then expanding the other faculties, the faculty of medicine, started in Makerere University. When I started in Makerere University, there was a debate. Why do you start a new one? Where will the doctors go? The doctors are too few. Have you heard of something called WHO? So yes, we have heard about it. What does the WHO tell you? How many doctors do we need per what portion of population? We need one doctor every 500 people. So Uganda now with 43 million people, we should be having 80,000 doctors. But how many do we have now? You total the doctors ever since you started. I don't think they're even, maybe about 5,000. So therefore, I congratulate especially the science faculty. Medicine, they have really, those ones are a little bit in the line of God, of the book of Genesis. Establish dominion over Ebola. That's what Jesus said. Establish dominion over Ebola. Establish dominion over Corona. Establish dominion over all these diseases. So those ones, I congratulate them, they are trying. The other science faculties, they are also trying because now technology, they have produced our Kira vehicle. Dr. Mrango, food science, is busy with the bananas. They are actually trying. The science groups are trying. They are trying. But still, maybe you should help me. When somebody gets a Bachelor of Science in agriculture, the other day I was in Namlonge, and there were, our people were there from here, from Makerere. And there was cotton there. Cotton. I said, what do you get from cotton? They told me textiles. I said, oh, thank you. Cooking oil from the seed. I said, thank you. Of course, you can also get animal feed from the sitting cod cake. I said, I think it was a lady. Maybe she's also here. So I said, and she said, those are the ones I know. But me, who is a bushman, I know there's something in cotton which I have not mentioned. This is gunpowder. I don't think that person had, I don't know whether he or she is here. I don't think they had ever known that gunpowder, which these people are using to kill us, especially the modern one, is from cotton. So, in the faculty of agriculture, was the emphasis grow more cotton, grow more coffee, do it in a better way, and so on? How about value addition? Was it being taught in the faculty of agriculture, to add value. Because if I train in crops, I should study the whole value chain, fresh, processed, and sub-processed. You audit that. How is it? So therefore, with the science, definitely there is some progress, and that's why I have been pushing it. You remember I said 70% of the scholarships go to science. This has been going on for almost almost 20 years now. Recently, when I insisted on paying better science teachers, there was a big struggle, but I think we are moving. So science, we moved a bit. We are now going to move more decisively, and I would like to convince all of you that really science is the primer of all social change. If you don't deal with science, you may not even exist. You may even disappear from. If you go to Australia now, there are people they call Australians, but those are Europeans who came and found those indigenous people there. They are the main group there. The indigenous Australians are always, they are very miserable people. America, when you go to America, who are the Americans? Americans who are there now are Europeans. They lagged behind in science and technology. So therefore, either you disappear or you survive at the mercy of others. And since God gave me this opportunity to be here to talk to lead the country, I will not allow Ugandans to be part of that. That's why I am insisting on science and technology. But coming to the social sciences, that's why I went to Dar es Salaam. The social sciences, because if we are to survive in the modern world, we must deal with two issues. Deal with the issue of prosperity. How will our society be more prosperous? You cannot be prosperous unless you produce more goods and services of all types. Now, the more goods you produce, look at the Japanese. The Japanese don't have natural resources. They don't have oil, they don't have minerals, they don't have what, but they are the third richest country in the world. Why? The Tayabas are the one making them rich, and the Musevenis. Because if I came here in a Japanese car, I think. These Toyotas, the what, all these clans of Japanese cars, Toyota, Mitsubishi, those are Japanese families or something. That's how Japan is very prosperous. They produce goods, we give them money, and they become rich. So, if production of goods and services can only be realized when you sell what you produce, what is the plan here in Africa? The social scientists should be talking of economists, should be talking of integration, economic integration, because when I produce a good, the more people that buy it, the better. If I produce, people buy, the more they buy, the more prosperous I become. The more prosperous I become, the more people I employ, the more taxes I pay, the more. So if you don't solve the issue of integration, if you don't talk about it as a main point, how shall we build prosperity? United States is a prosperous country because of that big market. China now has come up. India. What is the thinking here in academia, in Africa, in the government, in the bureaucracy? Talking about other things. How about strategic security? How can you ensure security? Like what is going on now in Europe, the wars. The other day, NATO came and attacked Libya, an African country, against the permission, again, without the permission of the African Union. We're just sitting. Libya is in chaos now. For I don't know how long, for how many years now, almost 20 years now. So I congratulate those and I encourage them and I want to deepen what they are doing. Social science, katuogere. Let's get time and talk. Naye, famaganda tugamba, ekitata muyima, tekikola ki? Ekitata muyima? The proverb is that if a muhima doesn't die, even if the cows die, he will get new ones. So since Makerere has survived 100 years, what has not been done will be done. Thank you very much.